Hello everyone, welcome to the channel of Political Science Tutorials. In this video, we will try to understand what is systems analysis approach to study the political science and David Easton's theory in this regard. All videos in this channel are with PowerPoint presentations. Hope this will help you to understand the topic as well as preparing your notes systematically. Please subscribe to the channel if you not yet subscribed and press the bell icon for the notification of next videos. Please watch till end for full discussion and share your views in comment box. In this video, our main aim is to understand what are approaches, what is systems analysis approach and David Easton's systems analysis theory. It will be discussed in 3 parts for a clear understanding. In first part, we will try to understand what are approaches and types of approaches. For our clear understanding, let us take the definition of Van Dyke about approaches. In his book, Political Science, a Philosophical Analysis, published in the year 1962, he states that an approach consists of criteria of selection criteria employed in selecting the problems or questions to consider and in selecting the data to bring to bear. It consists of standards governing the inclusion and exclusion of questions and data. So, approaches depend upon what? Approaches depend upon criteria, and these are selection of questions or problems and selection of data. Why this criteria used? A criterion is used to explain or analyze the political questions and data. Why the selection of questions and data? Since the questions and data are very great in number and also varied in nature, each political scientist or philosopher analyzes them in his or her own way by their own standpoint and method. Approaches are categorized depending on these standpoints and methods. Let me brief these points again. Approaches depends on selection of questions or problem and selection of data. Secondly, these selections are due to varied number of problems and various types of samples for collection of data. Thirdly, approaches are categorized depending on standpoints and methods of researchers. Hope these points about approaches are now clear. Now our discussion is about types of approaches. Broadly, there are 2 types of approaches: traditional or value-laden and modern or fact-laden. The central idea of value-laden approaches, which is also called normative approaches, is that the subject is viewed and analyzed normatively, or you can say there are certain standards, rules or precepts which must find their application in political science. Traditional approaches have a historical, descriptive and prescriptive character with a dominating place for values and goals. On the other hand, modern approaches are fact-laden. These are marked by empirical investigation of the relevant data. Modern approaches import the concept of natural and other social sciences to understand the study of politics as a whole. Modern thinkers convinced that disciplines like economics, sociology, anthropology, psychology are either way in mutual interdependence. To understand the political system as a whole, the concept of other disciplines is needed. Mainly value-laden or traditional approaches are philosophical, historical, legal and institutional. Fact-laden approaches are sociological, psychological, economic, quantitative, systems, simulation, behavioral, Marxian, rational choice, etc. Among this, our focus is on systems approach. These modern approaches are scientific, realistic and analytical, including systems approach. So in brief, traditional approaches emphasized on the study of government and institutions, but modern approaches shifted their eyes on political system and political processes. Traditional approaches were value-laden and dealt with questions like what should be or what ought to be, but modern approaches deal with questions like what is. Now in part 2 of this video, we will try to understand what is systems theory. The introduction of systems approach credited by thinkers like David Easton, Gabriel Almond, Morton Kaplan, etc. In fact, it was a reaction against traditional approaches. As we discussed in traditional approaches, the focus is on norms like what ought to be or should be rather than what is. The traditional thinkers understand that since fact and values are closely interlinked, so studies of political science can never be scientific. Already mentioned to the study of political science and comparative politics, there are many approaches. Systems approach is one of them. It is also called systems analysis or systems theory. We have to keep in mind that there are main two derivatives of systems theory: political system derivative and structural functional derivative. In this video, we are discussing about political system derivative. Structural functional derivative has been discussed in a separate video. If we look back to the genesis of systems theory, the systems theory derived from biology. And here we have to mention the name of Ludwig von Bartholomew, Austrian-Canadian biologist, and then adapted by social scientists like Talcott Parsons, and he used it in sociology. Actually, the systems approach to politics allows one to see the subject in such a way that each part of the political canvas does not stand alone but related to each other part. As human body considered as a system with the combinations of different parts, and it functions properly as a whole. Like a human body, the components of social and political systems working as a whole system. Systems theory is a broad descriptive theory. It analyzes political systems at different levels as well as different parts. Some notable thinkers of systems approach are David Easton, Almond, David Aptar, Coleman, Eckstein, Kaplan, etc. They undertaken its use as a theory for conduction's empirical investigation. Gabriel A. Almond has applied it in the studies of development and comparative politics. Morton A. Kaplan has used it in the field of international politics. Easton applied it to political systems. Different approaches have their set of concepts. To analyze the systems approach, the theorists also used some concepts like system, subsystem, environment, input, output, conversion process, feedback, boundary, etc. In this part, the questions which we are going to address are difference between systems theory and general systems theory, objectives of systems theory, what are systems, characteristics of this theory. Society is a broad term and as a whole is a general social system, contains many subsystems. Political system is one of those subsystems. When the political system is to be studied as a whole along with its intra-subsystems, then it is treated as a system. And systems theory tried to cover the study of the relevant concept of other systems to understand political system as a whole. These systems and subsystems are in frequent interactions and a substantial degree of interdependence among the members of a system, and also there is established procedure for the protection and maintenance of the system. So here three important terms are interaction, interdependence and maintenance. Interaction between systems and subsystems, and there is a relation of interdependence. At the same time, maintenance is important. As the systems and subsystems interacting and interdependent like living systems, it has also responding and self-regulating mechanisms. In the latter part of the video, it will be discussed elaborately. Now the question is why this regulating system is beneficial. By this responding and self-regulating mechanism, the system can change, correct and readjust. Change, correct and readjust its processes and structures. It regulates those activities which are disrupting for the political system or which may cause harm or break down the political systems. As in a human body, there is a self-regulating system. In political system, there is also a self-regulating mechanism. A point should be noted that the concept of systems theory derived from general systems theory, but there are some basic differences between general systems theory and systems theory. General systems theory advocates organized unity of the system, which develop a set of basic principles applicable to wide range of empirical system, and it is possible because there is a unity of the system. Human body system is a fixed system, but systems theory speaks of unity in diversity concepts. This approach sorting out a large quantity of data in recognizing the patterns and uniformities that tie the elements of a system together. In brief, general systems theory emphasized on unity of the system, but systems theory emphasized on unity in diversity. Several concepts like input, output, stability and equilibrium, feedback and entropy have become well accepted terms at the hands of empirical political scientists who deal with the formation and working of political systems in open and closed societies or in advanced and developing countries of the world. Every theory is built to keep in mind some objectives. Theory like systems analysis has also some objectives. Its three main objectives are order maintenance, adaptation with change and goal realization. What does a system mean? A system means a well-ordered setting running smoothly. To run smoothly, a system needs ability to maintain its order. Already discussed that in any system, a self-regulatory mechanism works. A system works in a setting which is environment. It is a chance to arise a situation due to distribution of scarce resources which may dissatisfy the members of a society. But if a system has an ability to cope up with this situation skillfully, then the order will be maintained properly. Second objective is adaptation with change. Change is the law of nature, we know. The environment in which political system is working is also not an exception. And this affects the system. The change affects the system. This change is a challenge for the system also. It may be a threat to the persistence of the system. Usually technological and economic changes take place and systems face the challenge and adapt itself with the reality. Third objective is goal realization or fulfilling the set target, and this is the central aspect of the system. A political system has to articulate, determine and pursue some specific identifiable goals without which it cannot maintain its existence. The members of a particular political system expect a well maintenance and balance of their interest. If the system attains its goals to satisfy the members, then it can persist and run smoothly. To understand what are systems, let us take a quick look on these points. Systems have their own boundaries. It is an important point to understand this theory. Now the point is, though there are boundaries, still they are in functionally interrelationship. For example, economic system, political system, social system, etc. has their own boundaries, but those are functionally interrelated. Economic activities may affect political system or social activities may affect political system or in other way, and their relationship is based on some of the communications. So here two main points are functionally interrelationship and communication. Second point is, as in the first point it mentioned that the concept of boundary, again a system within the boundary is divided into subsystems, and there are also exchanges of activities, communication between subsystems. Third point is, subsystems have capacity of coding. That is, they take informational inputs from environment and are able to learn from inputs and translate inputs in some kind of output. The characteristics of the systems analysis approach can be put in these points. The existence of a whole on its own merit. Second, the whole consisting of parts. Third, the whole existing apart from the other wholes. Fourth, each whole influencing the other and in turn being influenced itself. Fifth point, the parts of the whole are not only interrelated but they interact with one another and in the process creating a self-evolving work. Sixth point, the parts relate themselves into a pattern relationship while the whole exists and keeps existing. So here are the main points about the system approaches characteristics. Now in the third section or in the last section, we will try to understand David Easton's theory of systems analysis. Already mentioned that thinkers like Almond, Kaplan, etc. marked their name in systems analysis approach. But the most important name to use the systems analysis approach is David Easton. In the decade of 1950s, the time frame is very important to keep the knowledge about any theory. However, in the decade of 1950s, systems analysis approach emerged as behavioral studies and cultural studies. Easton was pioneer of behavioral studies. We will try to understand Easton's theory, concept about system, characteristics of systems analysis approach, his presentation of dynamic model through the central idea of his two books. Those are Political System, published in the year 1953. Second book is A System Analysis of Political Life, published in the year 1965. In his book, The Political System, he assumed the political system as the policy making process. Repeating again, he conceived political system as a policy making process. Political system is an integrating system of all activities. Which activities? the activities through which social policy is formulated and executed. So, political system is an integrated system of all activities through which social policy is formulated and executed. His most important concept in this regard is the concept of political behavior. He defined political behavior as the authoritative allocation of values, which is his famous concept also. What he mean by authoritative allocation of values? It means distribution of wealth, power and status by the authority, and which he termed as political behavior. So, in Easton's concept of systems analysis, concept of political activity and political behavior is in main focus. Now, let us try to understand what is political activity and what is political behavior. First, political activity. We know that struggle for power is a basic feature of human nature. Starting from family to international level, it is a common occurrence. The causes are innumerable, maybe based on properties, gender or national border or anything. And this struggle for power leads to tension and conflict. Here the center point mainly is a political system. So when in any political system conflict occurs regarding the distribution, it needs the authority's role to reduce the tension and resolve the conflict. There are some permanent mechanisms in a political system to reduce the conflict, but some further reserve mechanisms designed to reduce the amount of tensions and conflicts. As already mentioned that politics means authoritative allocation of values. So it is obvious that there will be a conflict between the members who desire values and the members who are in authority to allocate these values. To solve these conflicts, there need some activities. These activities are called political activities. In brief, we can say that struggle for power leads to conflict, and to resolve those conflicts, some activities are done, and these activities are called political activities. There are different methods to resolve these conflicts or political activities may take place in different forms. Maybe it by peaceful means or persuasion or by diplomacy or adjustments or violent means, or maybe the combination of different means. Now the second point is political behavior. The analysis of human or group or institutional behavior introduced in the study of politics in the decade of 1920s. Easton used this concept of political behavior in his theory of systems analysis, and he defined political behavior as authoritative allocation of values in wealth, power and status. Already mentioned the name of this book by Easton, A System Analysis of Political Life. In this book, Easton states that how do any and all political systems manage to persist in a world of both stability and change? Ultimately, the search for an answer will reveal what I have called the life process of political systems. Those fundamental functions without which no system could endure, together with the typical modes of response through which systems manage to sustain them. The analysis of these processes and of the nature and conditions of the responses I posit as a central problem of political theory. If we go through the Easton's analysis of political systems theory, systems analysis theory, it has main 5 characteristics. Unified theory of politics. Second, survival of the political system. Third, political stability. Fourth, theoretical and applied perspective. Fifth, authoritative allocation of values. Now we will discuss these points one by one. First, unified theory of politics. According to Easton, with this theory, one could explain all kinds of political activities, whether national or international or developed or developing systems. Second characteristic is that survival of persistence of the political system. According to him, it is the task of the empirical political scientists to study the political systems which are maintained over a period of time. This type of political systems follow some conditions or mechanisms which is helping them to maintain or persist the political order. After studying, thinkers will be able to understand the pattern or codes to build their theory. Third point is that political stability, the state condition of a political system is a necessary condition. The stable condition of a political system is a necessary condition for developing a political system, and in a condition in which a system will be able to keep its stability is the central point of political thinkers. Fourth, the motto of his systems analysis was not only to build theories but also apply it in practical field. Both are necessary for the survival of the political system. Fifth, authoritative allocation of values, as it is influenced by the distribution and use of power. In this slide, here is a diagram to understand Easton's systems analysis. We will try to understand it in 4 steps. First step, environment indicates the setting where any political system is working. From environment, demands and supports from the member of the society is directed towards the political system as input through political behavior. Step 2, who are demanding from system and who are supporting the system, between them there is a competition. For example, group of businessmen supporting the price hike of necessary commodities, but working and peasant organizations are in demand that the price should be lowered. So there will be a conflict between demand and support groups. Now both groups' political behavior will work as inputs in political system, and the authority will take decisions which may satisfy both groups, and this decision is output which will float in environment. Step 3, these decisions will interact with the environment which already political system enacted and produces change in the environment. The reaction of demand and support groups is normal. Step 4, the new policy which was enacted by political authority may generate new demands and supports, and groups in support or against the policy, and this enters as a feedback in a political system and other new policies formed, and it is a continuous process of policy making following the political behavior of members or organizations. In Easton's systems theory, there are 6 characteristics of a system. First, system as a set of interaction. Second, maintains a pattern. Third, system is self-regulating. Fourth, dynamic through feedback mechanism. Fifth, system has boundary lines. Sixth, input and output. First concept about system implies set of interaction through which values are authoritatively allocated. Second, a regularized pattern is maintained for the persistence of the system. Third, self-regulating. To change, correct and adjust, system has a self-regulatory process. The fourth characteristic of a system, it is not static. Through feedback mechanism, it is dynamic in nature. In the face of change, this feedback mechanism helps the system to persist or to maintain its order. Fifth characteristic of a system, boundary lines. Though physical, biological, social, economic, ecological system interacts with each other and have a flow of communications, still boundary lines separate the systems. Sixth, input-output. Input through supports and demands put the political system at work, while output through policies and decisions through throwback what is not accepted as feedback. As no theory is above criticism, Stone's theory is not also an exception. Some thinkers criticized Stone's theory because its main aim is persistence. For this reason, this kind of approaches cannot explain patterns of control, power and influence, or the politics of decline, disruption and breakdown in political systems, or the analysis of mass political phenomena. Secondly, the term politics and political system defined in broad terms, that one fails to apply the line of distinction between an abstract and concrete political system. Though these points cannot be ignored, but thinkers like Oran Young described Easton's input-output analysis as undoubtedly the most inclusive systemic approach so far constructed specifically for political analysis by a political scientist. According to Eugene Meehan, Easton has produced one of the few comprehensive attempts to lay the foundation for systems analysis in political science and to provide a general functional theory of politics. In conclusion, we can say that Easton's effort of integrated analysis help us to understand the political system as a whole. Easton's dynamic model of systems analysis with its concepts of demand, support, input, output, feedback helps us to understand the political process and political behavior which determines the authoritative allocation of values. Hope from this discussion the main points on systems analysis approach and David Easton's systems analysis theory is clear. We'll come back with a new video. Thank you for watching.